Hey, Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rekah Kodash. I want to give double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, where I learned this truth from. I want to say peace, mercy, and blessings unto all the hopeful elect. The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh, and that means He exists or He is to be. The name of the Son is Yahweh Shai, and that means He is the deliverer. We are the Hebrew Israelites, right? There's 12 tribes that consist of our nation. Today we'll be in so-called Black, African American, Haitian, Jamaican, West Indian, Native American, Seminole Indian, Latin, Hispanic. All right, but we are the Hebrew Israelites. Right, these are just bywords and proverbs to, it's part of a curse, and also it's done strategically to conceal our true identity of being Israelites. The self-proclaimed white man, he's actually Esau, Edom, when you read the Bible. All right, and we look at Bible prophecy. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. And this lesson is, there will be a draft, or rather, a draft is coming, right? This is from militarydaily.com. It says, could the U.S. bring back the draft? Who will be called first and who qualifies? As tensions rise overseas and U.S. forces remain engaged in multiple regions, a topic many Babylonians thought belonged to history is suddenly back in the national conversation, the military draft. Speculation about conscription has surged in recent weeks, following comments from political leaders and widespread discussion across social media. The renewed attention has focused on the selective service system, the federal agency responsible for maintaining the infrastructure needed to conduct a draft if Congress ever states one. So, like, I didn't look at this, and I'm definitely not about to sign up for this shit. But that's all right. I do have a link here.
Continue to be, and President Trump. Mothers out there are worried that we're going to have a draft, that they're going to see their sons get in and daughters get involved in this. What do you want to say about the president's plans for troops on the ground? As we know, it's been largely an air campaign up until now. It has been, and it will continue to be, and President Trump wisely does not remove options off of the table. I know a lot of politicians like to do that quickly, but the president, as commander-in-chief, wants to continue to assess the success of this military operation. It's not part of the current plan right now, but the president, again, wisely keeps his options on the table. Yeah, mothers out there are worried that we're going to have...
Wisely keeping options on the table. All right. It says, as Trump is considering a military draft as part of his options for the U.S. leases a flock, all right, war on Persia. And the answer to that is yes. All right, and I believe they just sent 5,000 ground troops over there. Yep, this is 5 hours ago, 4 hours ago, News Nation. All right, Pentagon sending Marine Expeditionary Unit to the Middle East. All right, as you can see, 4 hours ago, the Pentagon is reportedly sending a unit that includes as many as 3 warships and up to 2,500 Marines to the Middle East as the conflict with Persia continues. So shit is hitting the fan. All right, what the scripture says, wars and rumors of war. So when you see these numbers, never trust it. All right, we're dealing with Esau, the devil, the deceiver. Right, the USS Tripoli and the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit is usually stationed in Japan and operates in the Indo-Pacific region, but it's being moved to the region as Persia increases attacks on the Strait of Hormuz. Right, according to reporting from the Wall Street Journal, right, which dealing with the Strait of Hormuz, let's talk about that for a second, because now, they're putting mines over there, all right, which that's a very strategic, location, right? So you got the Strait of Hormuz, Then it's right across from the UAE or the Gulf of Oman. Right? So look at the Wikipedia real quick. Is that the Strait of Hormuz is the strait between the Persian Gulf, right, and the Gulf of Oman. It provides the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, and it's one of the world's most strategically important choke points. Okay, so when you see Iran in the news, that's Persia. They're the modern day Persians. Okay, they're also known as history as the Parthians. Right, when you look at the Roman Empire, right, it says it has been so for centuries, with vast hinterlands rich in luxury trade goods, but no easy access to lucrative trade ports. And memoirs by Babur, the first Padishah of the Mughal Empire, recounted how almonds had to be carried from the distant Fergana region to Central Asian and to Hormuz to reach markets. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at the strait and how it affects U.S. gas prices. Right? This is from Politico.com. Right? Because the price of gas is going up, and I believe right now it's up to $8 a gallon in Cali. You know, this gas is always outrageous over there, but you can expect that all throughout Babylon the Great. Right? Politico.com. 5 reasons oil prices won't snap back from Persian War. Tanker backlogs, damaged energy infrastructure, and threats in the Strait of Hormuz could keep gasoline prices elevated. And now what they're doing over there, they're putting mines. All right, and they only want this opened to friendly nations and nations who will help them, go against the West and the least of the flock. This is war. All right. The cruel Lord may be pledging a quick end to his war on Persia, but the political fallout will persist long after the fighting stops. The cruel Lord administration officials are downplaying the spike in oil and gas prices resulting from the disruption of crude shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, a key waterway. The recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, so they say, right? But I don't think it's going to be temporary. Of course, we know the market of beasts has to come first. Okay, but shit, we're in the beginning stages of World War III, but it ain't gonna fully commence until the market of beasts is here, on a worldwide scale. It says, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term. White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt told reporters Tuesday, referring to attacks on Persia. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said Monday that price perturbations will last weeks, not months, as tanker traffic continues snarling in the strait. All right. But analysts say the disruptions already backed into oil and gas prices, threaten to prolong higher gas prices further into the midterm elections. Here are 5 reasons high oil prices might persist. All right. Let's look at this one. It says it's not just Iran. While the administration has threatened the Iranian government with severe consequences if they attack ships moving through the strait, they are not the only hostile actors in the region that can effectively block the shipping route. There are multiple splinter groups in the region that are not affiliated with the Iranian government, but who are who are incensed that their leader has been killed and want revenge, noted a Haji, the energy market expert. So what this guy's doing, the cruel Lord in the West, they're just making enemies. They're making the whole world hate them, and even their own allies who eat their bread, as it says in Obadiah. All right, they're gonna turn up against them too. Even, the part of the NATO EU, those nations, Rep 17, they're gonna turn against them too. Right, the whole world's getting ready to go against this whore. They're gonna jump her. Right, the late Ayatollah Khamenei was not just the leader of Persia, but also for Shia Muslims in general, and has supporters across the region, including Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and more. And yes, some of these nations are allied with the U.S. But this is what you got to remember, right? This is what the prophecy calls for. It's the book of Obadiah, chapter 1. And verse 7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, right, they might have been allies, there might have been some peace treaty, they might have seemed to be at peace, have deceived thee. They're going to deceive you and prevailed against thee. These different Muslim Arab nations that are over there, you know, they have the same faith. They're going to put their differences aside, even if they don't have the same faith, and they're going to go against you, right? That's 2nd Esdras 15. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, right? Being, committed fornication with the whore, have gotten deals and, all sorts of perks from being allied with the West. That's eating the bread, right? There is none understanding in him. It's literally Esau, with all his military superiority that should deceive them. He's being made a mockery of. There's a clip where, people are literally laughing at this man. I'm talking about the cruel lord in the Western military. Okay, because the Persians, they're using guerrilla warfare tactics and they're outsmarting Esau, and it's causing them too much money to keep this war going, up to billions of dollars a day, right? Let me see where I was. All right, back in this article from from News Nation Now. It says, according to reporting from the Wall Street Journal, in addition to 5,000 Marines and sailors, the unit also includes F-35B Lightning II jets and MV-22B Ospreys, which can be used for troop insertions. The unit will join more than 50,000 troops already in the region and will take roughly 2 weeks to reach the area. The additional troops and warships, so it's going to take them 2 weeks to get there, right? So you think this is going to slow down anytime soon, right? And Passover is right around the corner. Right, you watch during and after the Passover, this shit is going to kick. Yahweh Hashem El Shai is going to turn the fire all the way up. It's going to get real hot, right? The additional troops and warships do not necessarily mean the Pentagon is planning to put boots on the ground, but does mean make a larger force available should a ground invasion be ordered. And those Persians, they're ready for that shit, right? The Trump admin has not ruled out the possibility of ground troops in the conflict. The Trump admin has also suggested Navy ships could be used to escort vessels to the Strait of Hormuz to protect them from attack. That shit ain't gonna work. Those, just like it says in Obadiah, the nations that seem to be at peace with you, they're deceiving you, right? And there will be a draft. The different military branches that are here, they're going to get shipped over there, and that's where they're going to die. It's Joel 2:20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army. The northern army dealing with the military branches of the whore, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate over there in the Middle East, with his face towards the east sea and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. I'm going to see what that says in the Amplified. Joel 2:20, but I'll remove far away from you and will drive it into a parched and desolate land, with its forward guard into the eastern sea, the Dead Sea, and with its rear guard into the western sea, the Mediterranean Sea. And its stench will arise, and its foul odor of decay will come up. This is the fate of the northern army in the final day of the Lord. Yahweh Hashem El Shai has done great things. And all those troops, they're going to get shipped over there, and they're going to get shipped up. They're going to have to mark of the beast. They're not going to make it back. Okay? This is not a good time to be joining the military, all right? If you should try to go AWOL, they draft you, then you should know what to do. You should tell them to go screw themselves, man.
You'll never know how much I love you when you're gone.
The draft.
All right, this is from Ty Boogie podcast. As you can see, Gen Z is preparing for prison to avoid getting drafted to the third woe. Right?
Draft is coming. That is a popular conversation that people are having on TikTok right now. Among really across all platforms, we see what's going on over there in Iran. Very unfortunate. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. As somebody that did 10 years in the military, I hate to see my brothers in arms have to risk their lives in general. Do you know what I mean? That's as much as I'm gonna say on that for now. Maybe I'll say more throughout the video. But yeah, so a lot of people are worried about getting drafted. Now I'm somebody that volunteered.
So far has been nothing but aerial strikes, guys. Even though we lost 7 U.S. Soldiers since this war has started, some people are saying that it's more soldiers, but we wouldn't know that by now. Now they're talking about drafting people. Now, if you guys don't know what draft means, that means if you are above age 18 years old, I think 18 years old to your middle or late 30s, they can draft you.
Wish they could put that number higher. All right. Remember, let's go to the prophecy, man, in Isaiah. This is the cruel Lord. He's going to do it. If they don't take him out and put somebody else in there, they're talking about, what is rumors of this guy being taken out. And of course, you got the Illuminati card game. But hey, we'll see what happens. This is Isaiah 19 and verse 4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. Let's just ask a question. The last U.S. military draft call occurred on December 7, 1972. Right? The last U.S. military draft call occurred on December 7, 1972, with the authority to induct men into service expiring on June 30, 1973. This marked the end of the conscription during the Vietnam War era. People didn't want to fucking go to war then. Okay? And they got their ass handed to them in the Vietnam War. All right? It says transition the military to an all-volunteer force since 1980. Men aged 18 to 25 have been required to register with the selective service system. So that was years ago, man. All right? Back in 1970, right? But now we're here in 2026, right? And the cruel Lord, this would be the guy to bring back the draft. This is Isaiah 19:4. And the Egyptians, which is you Babylonians, will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. That's your president. Remember? Niggas for Trump, Latinos for Trump, right? MAGA hats everywhere, right? Make this place great again. And a fierce king shall rule over them, said Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Now, he getting ready to draft your ass for war. And I believe it says that when the Lord was telling Samuel, all right, what a king would do unto them. All right? Let's look at that. This is 1 Samuel 8. Then you go from 10 to 18. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, to the people that asked of him a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground to reap his harvest and to make his instruments of war. and instruments of his chariots, and he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, well, not anymore, and to be cooks and the bakers. Now you woman, all right, you woman will be drafted too. Let's look at that. See, back then they wasn't drafting women in the military. That was unheard of, right? It says, as of early 2026, U.S. women are not required to register for the draft as selected server. Currently, only authorizes registration for male persons. However, the Senate's fiscal year 2025 National Defense Act includes provisions to amend this and require a woman to register. So you're going to have a woman being drafted too, all right? The cruel Lord, he's going to draft you woman too. You're going to get a rifle in your hand, a chip in your head or arm, and get sent to the Middle East to be slaughtered, right?
As long as you don't have a disability. If you have a disability, you cool, you clean, you ain't got nothing to worry about.
You about to have mad people playing crazy. You know what I mean?
Which that's what the cruel Lord did, right? Let's see. This is from Newsweek.com. How the cruel Lord avoided military draft 5 times. Amidst ongoing conversations about the Persian War and the idea of a military draft, the question of why the cruel Lord has not served in the military has begun to circulate. All right? It says the West and the Lisa flock launched strikes on Persia earlier this month in a military operation dubbed Epstein Fury. Right? My brother's been poetically calling it. With the conflict now, and ever since this fucking war, the searches about Epstein have went down by more than 90%, over 90%. So I go to show you that's a distraction, right? So I'm, I believe it now. People saying, that was the whole release of those files was to force, their hand to go into Persia, right? Because you gotta remember, Saint Benjamin and not a you. He's been pushing this narrative since the 90s. Just think about that shit. They've been saying that Persia gonna possess nukes since the 90s. It's 2026, right?
Yo, you sleeping, bro?
Yeah.
Alright.
So with the conflict now in its 11th day, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said that Tuesday would mark the most intense day of U.S. strikes on Persia. With tensions high over the war, many have raised questions and concerns over whether the U.S. will bring in a military draft. Speculations have grown after White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt refused to rule one out since the war began. Widespread calls circulated online for Trump's youngest son, Barron, to be drafted into the war effort, right? With the tag, send Barron, right? Similar calls have circulated for the president's eldest grandchild, Kai, and others have questioned if the children of Republican lawmakers supporting the effort will be drafted. So, the hypocrites, right? Trump avoided the military draft for the first 4 times in order to complete his college education, right? So here's a man who avoided it, who they call a draft dodger, right? But guess what? He getting ready to draft you goddamn Babylonians.
Breaking their ankles. You about to have mad people playing. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. I am on my road to 100,000 subscribers. I'm like 2,000 away. So everybody that hit that button, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Greater Rochester homeowners are snagging new roofs from
This is Demons. I don't know what's up with the audio.
Serious, about to have mad people playing.
All right, let me try this. Yeah, this is Marine, which we all seen the video by now, but this is Marine veteran Brian McGinnis interrupts Senate Armed Services hearing. All right, and pretty much he's yelling at, man, we ain't trying to fight for these small hats, man. Nobody wants to fight in this fucking war. Right? trying to figure out what's wrong with this shit. Alright, it has to be Satan. It's part of the battle, not the audio spoken up. You know, people want to call you and shit. It is what it is, man. Alright, this up a low from all hopeful like 3 man shares vision of men shortage during third woke.
Stand up as a Marine. Stand up for America. No.
Yeah, this ties in with that precept the mighty men of Babylon have born to fight. You know, that's gonna be for many reasons. One of the reasons is they know, you know, some people know what's up. You know, there ain't nobody trying to go to this war, man. You know.
Wants to fight for Israel.
That's spiritual. He got his arm broken. You know what I mean? He got his arm broken. That's spiritual. You know? Or his hand. You know?
Why are you here? Why are you getting arrested?
Free Palestine from the halls of Mount.
And we know Esau is the devil. So whether it's a psyop or, you know, whatever it is, the damage, the damage have been done. You know, a lot of people gonna be in the spirit. We don't want to fight for them. You know?
Duplex to the shores of Tripoli. Palestine will be free.
Oh my God, they broke his arm. Oh man.
We just witnessed a Marine veteran interrupting the hearing, and they broke his arm.
Why did he interfere?
Because there is a war in Iran, and our military.
That's spiritual, representing Esau military strength being broken. You know, so let's go back to this, man. I had to change it. I had to restart it because they are audio. So Lord willing, it's working now.
I want to give Bane the best support I can, and I know children
About to have mad people playing. You know what I mean? About to go John Q. This is my son.
But if you are a parent, even if you're a mom, and you within that age of 18 to in your 30s,
Going too.
they can grab you. They don't care how many kids you got.
Back it up.
They don't
They
care.
said if you're a mom, let's go back. You know.
Mad people playing. You know what I mean? About to go John Q. This is my son.
But if you are a parent, even if you're a mom, and you within that age of 18 to in your 30s,
Going too.
they can draft you. They don't care how many
If
kids
you're a
you got.
mom between the ages of 18 and 30, you're going too. All right. You don't have a lot of these proud ass, all right, stink ass Western women getting. They gonna be drafted, man. You gonna get you gonna get mowed over there.
They don't care what you got going on at home. They don't care what type of job you got. They can draft you, put you over there, teach you how to use a pew-pew, give you that equipment, and send your butt over there for boots on the ground. Now you got Russia that's been involved in this war. You got China that's been involved in this war. So all I'm saying is boots on the ground.
Which that's Ezekiel 38. You know, Russia being the chief prince, meaning the head, over these other nations. A guard over these other nations. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, Turkey. You could throw China in there as well,
Listen, guys. Now you're talking about waking up sleeper cells over here in the United States and other countries around the world. Do you guys really comprehend what's about to happen here, man? World War III is no longer a rumor, guys. World War III is here.
And that's what the scripture says. All right, but before it, fully pops off, because we're in the midst of it. We're in the thick of it, as they say. This is Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. It's coming quickly, man. All right, it's coming real quickly. the Lord, these are the signs of the second coming of Yahweh Shai. So there shall be wars and rumors of wars, pestilence, famines, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. All right, people still believe that the Bible is, a fairy tales book, or it's the white man's book. That's a good one. Scripture condemns Esau. It condemns the so-called white man, man. It condemns him, right? It condemns him. This is Jeremiah 51:30, going back to that video with the Marine. It says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. Yeah, why? Because they're going to go over there, all right? They're going to see all that death. They're going to get discouraged. A lot of them not going to want to fight. A lot of them don't want to fight for the small hats, right? They know it's bullshit. They have remained in their holes. They might have failed. They became as a woman. Women are the weaker vessels. Women look for men to protect them. Women are not usually in wars. When you go back to the ancient world, to the time of David, the Philistines, Saul, Samson, women were not in those wars, man. That's a new thing in the earth where women put in positions of authority, they're getting drafted in the military and shit. It says that in Jeremiah 2, I've created a new thing in the earth where a woman shall compass a man, female judges. All right? It's the fact that these mighty men will become as women, right? I mean, they're going to be, what happens when women are in the midst of some action? They start screaming. They can't move. They need to be protected. All right? They have burned their dwelling places. Her bars are broken. That's what's going to happen to Babylon the Great. It's already invaded, man. Those sleepers, they've been here. Right? We got to remember, Sleepy Creepy, Joe, I'm talking about the other one. He opened up the borders, man. He let them in. And they've been here before that, you better believe. Right? So this is how it's going to happen. This is Jeremiah 49:20. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and that's what the scriptures contain. The counsel of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. The secrets. But before the Lord, does anything, he deals with the prophets, man. This is Amos 7. Excuse me. It's the book of Amos, chapter 3, and if I start at 6, Amos 3 and 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? The prophets have been blowing a trumpet, the apostles and elders, bishops, for decades. People ain't be afraid. They drive by throwing shit, talking shit, calling the cops, trying to fight. Then they get curses put on them. Shall there be evil in the city, and Yahweh Hashem Yahushai have not done it? Right? So Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is bringing the evil to these cities, man. Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is bringing evil. Nuclear destruction in World War III, that's evil. Famine, pestilence, so-called natural disasters, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, all that's part of the evil. Right? Martial law. Right? Verse 7. Surely Yahweh Hashem Yahushai will do nothing, but he revealed his secrets unto his servants the prophets. And part of that secret is that, Esau, the West, which when you look at the rabbis, small hats, they identify the West as Edom and identified as the modern day Roman Empire. Right? He had taken against Edom, and his purpose that they proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. The least of the flock dealing with those little hats, big noses, that are claiming to be the people, but they're not. That's why there's so much tension over there between them and, the surrounding nations, the Elamites, the Ishmaelites, all the other ites. They know that they're not supposed to be over there. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Both of these nations are going to end up getting hit with nukes, man. And they're talking about using tactical nukes to smash up the bunkers over there in Persia, right? But that really ain't going to be to no effect. So that's the council, all right? And, St. Benji, Netanyahu, he got the cruel Lord. He pretty much drew him out, which had been happening. But now, it's kind of, now they're there. Troops are over there, man. They're actually doing it now. All right, so this is happening. Back to Joel 2:20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate. What does this say? Pentagon sent a Marine Expeditionary Unit to Middle East. Reports. That's the land barren and desolate, the Middle East over there, right? And even when you go to Revelation 16, the Lord say He's gonna dry it up, make way for the kings of the East, right? And with His face toward the east sea, I believe the Red Sea and the Euphrates, and His hinder part toward the utmost sea, and the stink shall come up, and His ill savor shall come up, because He had done great things. The great things was putting the people, the apple of the Lord's eye, in slavery. You know, touching the apple. That's the great things he did. Blasphemy against the Most High, covering the faces of the judges. Esau has done great things. His sins have reached unto heaven, so he's gonna get, uh, you know, his ass whooping is gonna be global, right? Let me try to play another video. I don't want the sound to fuck up, but I really want to play this. This really want to play this video this brother uploaded. Excuse me. It's fucked up ass weather we having, man. It was just in the 70s, then it's back to the 20s, and then it's, sunny, then it's snowing, you know.
I have to tell you guys about a dream that I had a long time ago because I feel like it's about to happen. So basically how it started was I was in a vehicle and I was driving around the city that I live in, and it was completely dark. The vehicle that I was in was like my real car, a small sedan, blue, right? So I'm in this vehicle driving around, and I get to my aunt's house. She lives on the nice side of town. And the moon's full. It's not really windy night, but it's just completely pitch black, dark out, right? So I walk up to my aunt's house and I knock on the door, and I look around and I realize that there's literally no.
And this is the spirit. It's what the scripture says. The Lord shall pour out the spirit upon all flesh. You know, and your young men shall dream dreams. Your old men shall have visions. Your daughter shall prophesy. Right? It doesn't mean women are going to be prophets out in the street teaching, but it means they're going to have visions too. You know.
But here, and as I'm walking down the sidewalk, I realize that I'm literally the only guy in the city. And I don't know how, but somehow it was.
And that's part of the prophecy too. We're gonna get that in Esdras. He said, "I'm literally the only guy in the city." All right, check this out. This is that's second Esdras 16, man. Right? This is second Esdras chapter 16, and 27. It says, "So that one man shall desire to see another, and to hear his voice. For of a city there shall be 10 left." Now think about that. You know, different cities in America, there's hundreds of thousands of people. You know, but that number, whatever number it may be, to be knocked down to 10, that is crazy. But that's the judgment of the Lord. "And two of the field which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks." Why? From the war, from the famine, from the pestilence, from the destruction, from the evil that's coming to these cities. Right? Let's go back.
Only guy in the city. And I don't know how, but somehow it was communicated to me by God telepathically.
And this plays in with Isaiah 4:1-2. That's why there's 7 women in this picture. Right?
Not a literal voice in a dream that some major war had popped off and that there was no men in the city, right? So as I get told this telepathically, I head back to my car. And when I'm in my car, I'm holding a baby. And while I'm holding this baby, I look over and this girl that I know that's in the army appears in the driver's seat. And she's holding a baby as well. And I don't know if that was God showing me that this has to do with war, because I don't really think that this girl was, specifically means that she was going to stay behind with me. I think it was more symbolic because she was in her uniform. And me and this girl were driving around the entire city holding these babies, realizing that we had a big burden to take care of these babies and that there was no men left in the town. And
Now, why is that? Because they gonna die in the war, right? The second Ezra 16. Let's jump down to 33. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. Right? That was that dream. That's what the dream was about. That the guy is going into. Right? The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. Woman shall mourn, having no husbands. Right? Their daughter shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem El Shai.
Left in the town, and somehow I had the privilege of not being sent off to war, but that meant that I had this huge responsibility to take care of these babies. And this girl,
Which that represents the elect, because the elect are not going to go. That's why it says that the devil shall cast some of you in the prison. You know, because you might have a question, well, damn, what if they try to draft me? Well, the answer to that, is an easy answer. It's not, you know, the answer to that is don't go. All right, if you get what I'm trying to say, like the answer is easy, but of course it's a test. The test may not be easy, but that's where faith in Yahweh Shem El Shai comes in. Because hey, man, they gonna get desperate because there ain't nobody trying to go to war, man. All right, these Babylonians, these men are not built for war.
was with me was completely silent. She wasn't speaking like she normally does. She wasn't talkative. She was stern and she was firm. And remember, she was in her uniform. So fast forward, and I forget about this dream, right? Well, today, my cousin, who is a huge Roblox nerd and really doesn't care about the kind of stuff, this kind of content, doesn't really watch like apocalypse, end of the world movies. He just cares about Roblox, right? And he designs software and all this. Anyways, he tells me that he has this dream where he sees me in the city that I'm in. Mind you, he lives in Omaha. I'm in a different city. He says that he sees me and we're standing outside of this care center, which is like a boys and girls home or a Critton center, which is basically a school for troubled kids, right? And he says that we're standing there, and then these guys that are overweight come with, boomsticks, and they try to attack us. Well, he says that me and him are standing there fighting them, and somehow they're chasing us, but I think he said that we get their boomsticks away from those guys, and we end up winning this engagement, right? Well, he says that as we're running down the streets, he notices that he sees our family and that there's literally no men in the family left, and that there's no men left to protect.
That's because they're gonna die. The ones that do, stupid enough to go in this war, they're gonna get chipped. They're gonna go to the Middle East. They're gonna die. That's why it says in Joel 2 that the stink shall come up. This is not a war Esau gonna win. This is the war to end all wars. In the midst of this war, Yahweh Shai is gonna return. Right? Before that's gonna be economic collapse and the mark of the beast is gonna come.
And that there's literally no men in the family left. And that there's no men left to protect the women. There's no men left to protect the kids, the girls, nothing. And that it's just me and him.
So let me read that again, man. Right? Let's get that. Matter of fact, let's go to the G&T. Second Ezra 16. See what that says. Second Ezra 16. Let's go down to 27. And a person will long to see the face of another human being or even to hear another person's voice. Right? Let's jump down to 33. The young woman will be in mourning because there's no one to marry them. Wives will be in mourning because they have lost their husbands. Daughters will be in mourning because there is no one to help them. All the young men will be killed in a war, and all the married men will die in a famine.
And as soon as I heard that, I instantly thought of the dream that I just told you guys about. And the reason that I'm telling you this, guys, is because I don't know why, but I feel it in my spirit that they are about to pull a draft over
That's the spirit. He said they're about to call a draft. And you'll have women getting fucking drafted too. That's why that woman had on a uniform. Right?
entire United States. When this war with Iran kicks off, you have literally seen nothing, bro. And I'm telling you that I genuinely believe that a draft is coming. Whatever happens, do not believe their lies and do not sign up to fight these wars, guys.
That's the spirit, man. Just don't do it. And the scripture says the devil shall cast some into prison, but Yahweh Bashem El Shai is about to do great miracles. Right? Remember Peter, the angel, the Lord used the angel to break Peter out the prison so he could go back to teaching. You see? So, hey, man, you know, let me read this again. It's Jeremiah 51:30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. The ones that do go over there think they all big and bad. The Most High gonna humble the shit out of them, especially when they see those chariots, right? It says second edges that they were afraid but durst fight. They have remained in their holds. It's gonna happen before the Lord come back. They're gonna forborne to fight because they're gonna be getting their ass. They're getting their ass handed to them now, right? Their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. All right, that's all I'm gonna play because I don't want the audio to be, you know, messed up. The Lord willing, this was brought some edification. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory, how about Shem Yahushai, to the hopeful elect. I say shalom.